Everybody hear me now? Okay, I'm not sure if you can hear me. Darn. Out of all the days, let's see. Um, that's got it? Okay, great. Okay, so everyone can hear me. Um, okay, so last time on Talk Shoe, I did something wrong and it ended up not um it ended up not recording everything, so I wanted to fix that. So, anyway, let me cut it short. So, if you noticed, I wrote that today's discussion is going to last from 3 to 10, and there's a reason for that. I'm doing something today, and I'm kind of excited. But before I do that, let me read the disclaimer and give you some info. So the disclaimer is, where's my disclaimer? So the reason why I said out of all the days, because today's discussion is going to be a little bit different. So anyway, so the opinions expressed on this forum is not representative of PLN's official stance. Our X's opinion is based on the information available at the time and not PLN's official stance. Not everyone who calls in is a TI. The gang stalkers have a tendency to pretend to be TIs and interfere with activities related to TIs. PLN and RX can't guarantee that TI hour participants, including guests, are real TIs or if what is being said by anyone is true. This isn't to invalidate anyone, but to take into consideration that gang stalkers sometimes pretend to be TI. If you see me saying RX as if that's not me, it's because it's easier for me to read it that way than to say whatever. Okay, so so on TalkShoe, what I noticed, I did a test run on TalkShoe, and what I noticed was that when you call in, it kind of has the first 6 digits of your phone number. And I know that could be alarming. It was alarming to me, but it's also alarming to TIs. And so maybe if you want to avoid that, don't call in if you don't want the first 6 digits of your phone number on. But if you do want to call in, let me give you the number. In that case, you could still sign on to TalkShoe, but sign on I don't know if you have to create an account or not, but sign on in a way that you are using your computer and not your phone. But if you don't care and you do want to call in, let me give you the information. I'm all over the place. Moderates can speak. Okay. So the phone number is 605-562-0444. And the show ID is 1099182. And if you need the number for other countries, so that way you'll be charged local rates, let me know and I'll get that number to you. But I suggest that you sign on to TalkShoe and you do it through the internet like I'm doing. Because then, I don't know, maybe you get to choose your name and I don't know. That might I was like, oh my gosh, some people might freak out if that happens. So letting you know. And then I was thinking about the last episode when somebody wanted to talk about their situation, but they didn't speak English. And I was like, what is the best way to try to get you to be able to express yourself and talk on the show? And the only thing I came up with is this. You go to Google and you type your language and then you write to English. So if you speak French, say French, go to Google and write French to English. If you speak Spanish, go to Google and write Spanish to English, blah, 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 whatever language you speak. And that's going to take you to Google Translate. So you're going to go to Google Translate and you're going to type in whatever you want to say, and it's going to translate it to English. You're going to cut and paste that English translation, and you're going to post it in the chat, and then you're going to send it to me. You and I will both know, or everyone watching will find out just how good Google Translate is, So, and I've always been curious to see, like, does it really translate that well? So that's another way for non-English speaking people to try and say what they have to say with less difficulty. Hopefully Google Translate is great and it would translate exactly in a way that, makes it easier to for you to express yourself and for me and English speaking people to understand you. So you could try that. I think that's it. So, okay. So I really wanted, so I tried something, I'm doing something different in this episode. And the reason why it's between 3 to 10 is because it really might take that long this time. A slight disclaimer on my face. So, there's the movie Gaslight. and a lot of people reference this movie, but very few of them have seen it. The term gaslight can now be used on its own and has its own definition. You can understand what it means to be gaslighted without actually seeing the movie, but I thought it would still be a good idea to see where the term originated and why. So, Gaslight, for those who didn't know, is a movie about a psychopath, and it does a good job of illustrating the psychopathic traits and tricks. There could be so many different perspectives and discussions about the movie. However, in the interest of time, I will keep it basic and point out the basic examples of psychopathy and the tricks used. So what's going to happen is I will watch the movie, and I will kind of like narrate some parts while you listen to the movie. It's going to be similar to the times when people didn't have TVs and listened to old radio shows for entertainment. You know, you might be like, oh God, but this is a good way to exercise your imagination. You know, you're not being fed, you know, the whole thing. You get to use your imagination a bit. So it might be fun. It might not. You might hate it. I don't know. Let's see what happens. So what I'm going to do is I will break the movie up into 15-minute intervals, and I will make comments in between. The audience, meaning non-TIs and gang stalkers. If you remember, I talked about the bullying triad, which is the bully, the target, and the audience. Well, in the TI triad, it's going to be the gang stalkers, the TI, and the audience. So the audience, meaning the general public, who don't know about this, don't care, or whatever, can benefit from this, because gaslighting is not specific to TIs or gang stalking. It can happen to the audience too. So I think that the audience could get something out of it, because they're going to learn about psychopaths. Whether or not you believe in gang stalking or that is true, doesn't matter. Psychopaths do exist. It's confirmed. Psychology knows about them. You should learn a bit more about them. So with that said, I just try to express myself naturally. Oh, okay, that's fine. If you don't want to use, you don't want to use Google Translate. That's fine. That's fine. You can use it as a resource. If you find that you get frustrated, feel free to jump on it. If you don't want to, that's fine too. So I'm not going to be able to answer the text, because I'm going to be watching the movie and narrating for you. So feel free to feel free to chat it up all you want. But if I don't respond back, it's because I'm watching the movie and trying to get it to you. So let's see. I want to exit full screen. So let's get to the movie. Let me get to that. Let's see. And file. All right. I'm bringing up the movie now. I hope you can hear it. If you can't hear it, let me know. Oh, you know why? I had my volume on low. So silly. I think the movie starts. There's like this big theatrics. Hold on. Recording started. So right now, what I'm looking at, they're showing a scene of an apartment on Pimclo Square, and there's horses riding around. It must be like it's like in the time earlier than usual. Okay, so they're just panning the apartment. So a lady is stitching something, and it says Alice Barlow on it. I think it says 1965 or something, 1940 or something. There's a guy coming up behind her, and he's grabbing a piece of string. She's yawning. She's not aware that he's there. He's taking the string. He just wrapped it around her neck. He's choking her. She's choking. There's a guy walking downstairs, and he stops. You think he's going to go help her, but he's just looking up. He laughs. And he walks away. He's not in the apartment. He's downstairs. The lady seems to be dead. She's an older woman. And the burglar is searching for something. He's climbing up the stairs. He's opening jewelry boxes. So the burglar or the killer is obviously looking for something. He's going through her clothes drawers. He's like tearing her apartment apart, or her house, her brownstone apart. He's going through her bed sheets. He's going downstairs. He's going upstairs. He's obviously looking for something. He's revealing the old body, threw it off the dead body. He throws the dead body off the chair where he killed her. He's ripping up the armchair, the chair where she was sitting. He's tearing off her couch and sofas. He's looking for something. He took her pendant off her neck. A maid just found the dead body and she's screaming. Help! Police! Help! Okay, they live in 12 Pimlico Square. Now you see the apartment or the brownstone, everything, the dead body's laying on the floor, everything's torn apart, like he just went crazy. Yeah, it's a pretty bad scene. The maid is crying into another maid's arm. They're whistling for the police to come. The police are there. They're hovering over the dead body, checking the dead body out. Newspapers are being rolled. They're showing you a headline, dreadful murder in Pimlico Square, Barlow Ruby's missing. Okay, so it seems to be a couple of years later, and they're pulling up a sign that the house is for rent. Someone's digging a tree.
Don't see no one taking the house yet a while. Nor me.
There's two guys digging up a tree, planting a tree across from the house, from the brownstone where she was murdered. Okay, sorry, everything keeps falling. So now they're just showing a scene of the house again. And they're showing that it hasn't been rented in years. And it's all dusty and everything. However, someone's cleaning it up now, and they just took off the sign. And so it seems like somebody rented the house. So the maintenance guys are coming in. Please let me express myself on Gaslight. Okay, I'm not going to read the text. Okay, so there's some guys climbing up the steps. There's a whole bunch of workers. They're just fixing up the house. So yeah, as I said, I'm not going to answer to the chats because I got to watch the movie to tell you, to narrate it. Okay, he's lighting the gaslight to see if it works. This is the maintenance people. Somebody's moving in. The movers are bringing the stuff right up to the apartment.
Nancy, hey.
There's a maid. Nancy's the maid.
I saw the cab down the square.
There's two maids, one young one, one older one. She's looking out the window. The new owners seem to be coming up. I'm not going to narrate anything. I'm just going to narrate the parts where no one's speaking so you know what's going on. So a guy just stepped out. It must be the husband. His wife just came out with him. They're looking at the house. The wife is just staring at the house, looking at it. She has no expression. It's not like she's happy or anything.
Good afternoon, Mum. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
They're at church now. Everyone's coming out of the church.
What a beautiful voice he has, hasn't he?
The couple just left the church.
Those are the melons from number 12.
Yes, I thought we might call on them.
Not in London. It wouldn't be correct. My dear, I said no.
Those are townspeople that want to visit them.
Only two maids.
So there's this young guy there, and he seems to be flirting with the younger maid.
I hear he's a foreigner.
But he looks most respectable.
The maid is flirting with some young guy, and some other guy just pulled him away. The younger maid.
All right behind.
So this other guy is just like staring at the husband and wife. Their name is the Melons, and he's just staring hard at them. So now they're at a horse stable, and the young guy who's
Over
okay.
there with Annabelle.
Excuse me, sir. There's a message from the vet about the mare. He says... All right, sir.
I've seen a ghost come.
What, here, sir?
The ghost of a man out of my past.
Oh, you mean when you were in the police force, sir?
Most of my ghosts are criminals, but this one wasn't. I know the story of the house he lives in. I was on a case there once when I was a young peeler. Louis Barr, the nephew of old Alice Barlow that was murdered 20 years ago. Louis Barr. A foreigner he was, and very cut up, I remember. Funny he should come back to 12 Pimlico Square after all these years.
12 Pimlico Squares, Mr. Mallon's house, sir.
Nonsense, Louis Barr. Right face, right house.
No, you were wrong, sir.
Impossible. What do you know about it, anyway?
Well, it's the parlour maid, sir. You see, she's a friend of mine. The family's name is Mallon.
They live at number 12?
Yes, sir. Leastways, part of it. Nancy says they don't use the top 2 stories. Bit queer, Nancy says. Means less dusting for her, though. Mrs. Mallon's queer, too.
Queer, is she? In what way?
Well, she's sort of odd in her mind. She does strange things. Nancy says Mr. Mallon gets very upset. He goes out every night. It's a very queer place.
Yes, it does sound queer. I want you to see as much of her as you can.
What, the mayor, sir?
No, you're Nancy.
Oh, she's not mine, sir. I'm only one of the pebbles on the beach, so to speak.
Well, you play up to her. I want to know everything that goes on. I believe I'm going to be very interested in number 12.
So it's nighttime now. That was at the stable. They're now on the street in front of the Mellon's house. The guy who was just speaking, who's going to be interested in number 12,
Dirty evening for a stroll, sir. A lot of dirty things in London.
is walking by the house and looking at it. He's looking at it suspiciously. Miss Mellon's the wife. She's looking out the window.
Bella, what are you doing?
He calls her Bella,
Nothing more than
the husband.
What are you doing, Bella?
Thought I heard the muffin man.
And why didn't you ring for Nancy to find out?
Thought it would mean 2 journeys for her.
Ring for Nancy, Bella.
Nancy's the younger
What do
maid.
you suppose the servants are for?
To serve us, I suppose, dear. Nancy, I rang the muffin man.
Oh, I thought you rang for tea, Mum. I was just bringing it up.
Oh, then it's too late for muffins.
Not at all, my dear, not at all. Nancy, spread the cloth, lay the tea things, go down and get the muffins, cook the muffins, and bring up the muffins. You see, my dear, it's all quite simple. Light the gas, Nancy.
Yes, sir.
They're in the living room.
You're looking very impudent and pretty tonight, Nancy. More broken hearts.
I don't know, I'm sure, sir.
Where do you get the color for your cheeks, Nancy? Could you not give the recipe to Mrs. Mellon?
Oh, no, sir. Oh, natural.
Miss Mellon looks really upset right now,
Will that be all
but
you're
she's not
wanting,
staring
sir?
at either one of
Yes,
them.
Nancy, that'll do for the present.
Call her so I do anything to my face or ask for her assistance if I did.
Well, Bella was only trifling with her.
So humiliating for me. That girl laughs at me enough as it is.
Oh, nonsense, Bella. You know perfectly well how you imagine things.
She like looks scared.
Don't say that. I have been better the last 2 weeks, haven't I?
What do you mean?
You know very well what I mean. That I've been trying so hard. And I have been better because you've been kind to me. I'll be perfectly all right if only you'll be patient and gentle with me.
Of course, my dear, of course.
He's, yeah. He got so happy when she expressed dependency on him.
Shall I stay in this evening?
Would you?
Mm-hmm. What shall we do?
Tea first.
And then I'll pay for you.
We'll have an evening just like we used to.
She's like cuddling up to him. Now she's dancing around and around. She's in a good mood now. And he's expressing good mood. Okay, he just noticed something and he's frowning. He looks disappointed.
What is it?
I've just noticed something. If you put it right while I'm not looking, I will say no more about it.
What's the matter? I don't understand. Paul, don't turn your back on me.
Look on the wall behind you.
He has his hand in his face in his hands. He has his back to her.
Picture, it's gone again.
Yes. Where have you hidden it this time?
I didn't take it. Why should I take it? It's no use to me.
Why should you take other things? Pencils, knives.
Paul, don't.
Bella, where's the picture?
Didn't take it. I swear I didn't.
Come. Get the picture.
Okay, so it's been 15 minutes. All right, so I'm just gonna comment on this. If you just joined, I'm not gonna be answering text because I have to narrate the movie. So what did we just see? So there's gonna be a spoiler alert. If you've never seen this movie, I'm using this film to describe psychopaths. So I will point out things that the husband is doing to mess with his wife's mind. If I didn't spoil the movie for you, you are supposed to think that that the husband is sane and the wife is crazy. He totally set her up in that scene. He wanted to go out, but he knew she would protest or might start getting suspicious if he kept going out. If you notice, in the beginning, the boy said he goes out every night. So she might get suspicious if she might start getting suspicious if he kept going out. So he set up a scene to blame her for his always leaving the house. This time, the picture on the wall is missing, and he blames her for it missing. Also note that the maid already thinks the wife is crazy, and he flirted with the maid right in front of the wife. He already has plans on messing with the maid. Okay, although you're not supposed to know that right now, but this is how psychopath's mind works. He already has plans of messing with the maid and is doing things to dismiss any of his wife's future suspicions because as of now, he isn't doing anything with the maid. So she starts getting suspicious now. Oh, you're messing with the maid. Oh, you're messing with the maid. He can say, no, I'm not, because he isn't right now. But later on, he has plans of doing that. He already... So what he's doing is he's already scoping out a new source of he's already scoping out a new source of narcissistic or psychopathic supply. Even though the maid seems more outspoken than the wife, the maid's position as a servant makes her vulnerable to and dependent on him. Later on, you'll find that his wife is the one with the money. So right now he is dependent on her. So right now he is in the process, what you're seeing is he's in the process of breaking down his wife to become vulnerable and dependent on him. But the maid is already in that position and he just has to see if she will take his bait. The maid is also spreading word that the wife is crazy. Word is getting around the word is getting around town and he is already discrediting his wife. So in public, he will appear as the husband who has to deal with a crazy wife. They will feel sorry for him and see him as a devoted husband. So like I said, I'm pointing out psychopathy to you. As the movie progresses and stuff, all this will come together. So if you seem a little bit confused right now, don't worry about it. It will come together in the end. Just bear with me. So let's do the next 15 minutes. Remember, the picture's missing. He's asking her where it is and says she took it and hid it. And she's saying, no, I didn't take it and hid it. And he just told her, he's making her feel like she's crazy. So let's go back to the movie.
I'd know if I touched it. I'd remembered. I've been better lately. You've missed nothing. For days, for 2 weeks I've been well.
She's nervous. She's agitated. She's grabbing her shirt.
Why should I take
He's backing her into the door. She's opened the door. She's running up the steps, but it's like she got an idea. And she's going up the steps. He's following her slowly and menacingly. And she's grabbing something behind the cabinet. And it's the picture. She found the picture. She looks scared. She looks really scared. He's going up to her.
So you did know where it was.
Nancy, the young maid, is listening, eavesdropping.
Why do you persist in lying to me, Bella?
It's the truth.
Bella, if you're not lying, there's only one alternative. You're losing your wits.
She looks scared. She drops something. She's grabbing her shirt.
I promised you never say that to me.
She's like fiddling with her shirt.
No control, even of your hands.
He's looking down, but he's telling her she can't control herself because of his hands.
No, not my room. I can't bear to be alone. Oh, God, help me.
God help you indeed.
The maid is looking and smiling. She's obviously enjoying the scene. But they don't know the maid's watching. He's turning on the gaslight. And Bella's now going to the room. She's locking the door now. She was standing at the doorway because she didn't want to go to her room. So now they're both in the room. He's looking at her upset.
Please, please don't be angry with me. I've never lied knowingly to you. If I took the picture or your ring or your pencil, I didn't know. You must bear with me, Paul.
I don't know how much longer I can keep my patience.
Oh.
He's watching her cry. He's not going to comfort her. He has his hand on his face, but he opened his finger so he could watch her cry. Like he's sneakily looking. Now he's looking down. He's grabbing a brooch of hers. He's taking it and he's putting it in his pocket. Now he's leaving. He didn't even comfort his wife. He's just walking slowly out the room with the brooch. The maid was eavesdropping, just dropped what she was carrying. I guess the muffins.
Eavesdropping, Nancy?
No, sir. I didn't hear anything, honey. I was just carrying the muffins.
Your mistress is a very unusual woman. Quite strange, you know. You must let things you hear and see themselves upset you. You're a young girl.
inexperienced.
He's moving really up close to her.
You are inexperienced, aren't you?
Depends how you mean, sir.
He's obviously hitting on her.
Thank you, Nancy.
He's opening a drawer, a locked desk that he has. He's putting the brooch into a drawer, closing it, and he's locking everything up again. He's in a good mood now. Not at all upset. He's going outside, and that cop, I think the ex-cop, is walking outside his house. He seems like he's walking away from the house, but he notices that someone's coming out of it. He's hiding behind, he's hiding so that Mr. Mellon, the husband, doesn't see him. Mr. Mellon walks away. The cop, the ex-cop, maybe retired cop, is following him, but not at a pace where Mr. Mellon can't see him. Mr. Mellon stops in front of house 14. He looks around, looks like at the corner of his eye a bit. Now Mr. Mellon is going into house 14. Well, brownstone 14. Okay, the retired cop walks slowly to brownstone 14, which is right next to Mellon's house. He's smoking his pipe, but he keeps walking. He notices that brownstone 14 is still on the market. There's a sign in front of it saying that's still on the market by the realtor. Bella's in her bedroom, laying down, and all of a sudden, the gas light starts to dim. She gets up, and she's staring at it. It's kind of dark in her room now. And her eyes are wide open, and she looks scared or worried. So it's the next day now. Nice, bright London morning. Mr. Mellon's coming downstairs. Mr. Mellon's the husband. There's a puppy going up the stairs. He's going through the mail. He knows the mail, a letter for his wife. He's opening his wife's mail. He's reading his wife's mail. His wife is coming in. He's hid the letter in a book. His wife just came in with a dog.
Isn't it a lovely day, Paul? Just look at the sunshine out in the square.
Mm-hmm.
Where's my letter?
What letter?
I haven't had one for such a long time. I do hope it's from Cousin Vincent. It isn't here.
Why should there be a letter for you?
Nancy told me there was one.
Oh, Bella.
Oh, she did, Paul.
But you've been through them yourself, dear. You see, they're all addressed to me.
Oh, I had so hoped. There must be a letter, Paul.
9 o'clock.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, sir.
The maids are in, Nancy, the young one, and then the older one. He's telling her to get the dog out the living room? The drawing room. He took the letter out again. He's reading it. The letter is from her cousin. He's wrapping the letter up. He put it in his inside pocket. Bella didn't see him do it. So now they're sitting at the table with the maids aside.
I will read from the 120.
They're reading from the Bible.
Except the Lord built the house.
That's the puppy crying outside. Wants to go in.
This being the doors in the gate. Let us pray.
Pimlico Square, I was after.
So that scene's over.
Number 14's the only empty house.
The
in
retired cop's
square,
talking
I'm
to the
afraid.
realtor.
We are the sole agents.
My pipe worrying you?
Faces south, a little alley runs along the back, nothing to block out the light. But we'll have some difficulty, I'm afraid, Mr. Ruff.
Why is that?
The remainder of the lease of number 14 is in the hands of Mr. Mallon of number 12. And he's already refused 3 good offers.
Mr. Mellon of number 12? Why won't he let?
Do you know, I've often wondered. A queer profession, mine, Mr. Ruff. So near to so many people's lives, and yet always on the doorstep, as it were.
Yes, yes, indeed.
A fascinating study, human nature, Mr. Ruff.
Fascinating. You don't think there's much chance of that house being really on the market?
Well, if you want to make an offer, do so by all means. I sometimes wonder if it's the noise he's afraid of. The wife's a delicate woman, just had a breakdown, I understand. A charming creature. I've seen her often walking in the gardens of the square with her dog.
Gardens? Oh, sounds very pleasant.
Oh, they're charming, then.
So now the scene is on Bella. She's walking through a park with her dog and their kids playing around, and the retired cop is there also. So he must have went to see her. But he's pretending like he doesn't know who she is. And she obviously doesn't know who he is. So he caught a child toy. He threw it in front of Bella to make her trip, so that way he could go meet her.
Dear lady.
I'm all right, thank you. Where's my little dog?
You savages, I hope you're not hurt, Mom.
No, not a bit.
No, you come and sit down over here.
Oh, no, I'm all right.
Oh, you can't possibly tell if you're hurt until you've had time to think it over. Doesn't matter so much when you've soft bones like those little rascals. I've a good mind to go and complain to the
Oh,
nurses.
it wasn't their fault. It was quite a... Oh, thank you. That is kind of you.
Fond of children, I see. Got any of your own?
No. I must go.
Well, you haven't counted all your bones yet. No, don't worry about me. I'm old enough to be a father. They're not what they used to be.
Who aren't?
Children.
Oh.
I should be ashamed if I couldn't bowl a better hoop than that, wouldn't you?
I never bothered about hoops. I was brought up in the country.
So was I. Whereabouts?
Devonshire.
Devonshire? What part?
I lived with some cousins near Exmouth.
I know Exmouth very well. Wonder if I've met him.
Their name was Ullswater.
Well, don't go yet. I was just getting interested.
Wait, what? Are you in the collar? Stop it, you rude little boys. It's just great.
There's a bunch of kids throwing rocks.
Poor little divils. I'd like to give them a taste of Devonshire.
Yes, a grass bank to roll down in some nice clean mud. Well, thank you for being so kind.
Toy shop.
I beg your pardon.
Something those little objects to play with. There is a toy shop across the road.
Oh, what a lovely idea. They do look so miserable.
Well, you'll have to come along too, of course. I mean, that's the whole idea. Must have a woman about where brats are concerned, you know. I mean, they'd run a mile if I were to so much as call to them to come.
I'd love to see them enjoy themselves, but
Well, what's to stop
well,
you?
my husband is out and he won't be back till tea time.
Then you'll be back in time to have it with him.
I don't want to be silly, but I don't know you.
Oh, this is charity, ma'am. That blows convention out of the window. Hey, there's you children out there in the street. Come along, don't be afraid. I've got something for you.
Would you like some toys to play with? It is such a shame you can't go into the square, and this gentleman thought that...
Well, there's a toy shop over there. Tops, if you like, or hoops.
You let's go across, shall we?
Oh, we've come to the wrong shop. Buns and ice cream are what they want.
Do you think we should?
Nonsense. Make them all sick. Do them a world of good.
So the
Well, you know what
kids,
you want, don't you? Come on in.
instead of going to the toy shop, they're looking at the bakery shop.
Here we are. Help yourselves.
So they decide to go to the bakery shop instead.
Blimey, look at them lovely tarts. Plenty more. Anything you like, in reason. That's right.
So Miss Mellon's completely enjoying the scene. Her husband just came in. She looks scared. He grabs her by the arm. Well, not grabs her, but he takes her by the arm. He leads her out. The retired cop is looking. He
What
looks
exactly
upset.
can we do for you?
Knock his block off.
He's mad that
Who cannot control yourself in your own home. To risk such a thing with a complete stranger.
Mr. Mellon took him on.
Children, Paul.
A horde of noisy street urchins. When you know the only hope for you is rest and quiet. Put the dog down. You're not listening to me.
I am listening. What are you going to do?
I told you before, I can't stand the dog in the drawing room.
I'm very fond of her, Paul.
It's not natural. Fuss you make over it. Sometimes I wonder if you even want to be like other people.
Why did you ever marry me, Paul?
When I married you, Bella, you were a normal woman. So I thought.
That's so mean. All right, so that's the next 15 minutes. So in the beginning, when she was touching her shirt and he was like, "Oh, you can't even control yourself," she was just touching her shirt nervously, which is a normal response to being agitated. But he completely turned that into a sign that she was losing her mind and couldn't control herself. Then he sent her to her room so he can leave and do what he wants. Notice that it seems that he has told her before that she is, quote, losing her wits. In other words, going crazy. T.I. said that in the beginning of the campaign, people, even random strangers, kept telling her, making her feel as if she was crazy. Even walking down the street, random people would just go up to her or pass by her and tell her she's crazy and keep walking or act like they didn't say anything. So back to the movie, notice when he called on God to help her. Psychopaths will often use religion, spirituality, or God to make the target feel as if they are so hopeless, so lost, so crazy that only divine intervention can help them. This is to make the target feel like there's no hope for you. Except, of course, if you do what I say, what the psychopath says. So, and then also notice how the wife she's a trusting, loving, and loyal person. She doesn't question her husband's assumptions of her. She's not fighting back. She's not throwing it back at him. She's just kind of accepting it and just like holding it in. And, she's not fighting back really. She's really passive. And notice too that, so if you put all that together, you'll notice that keeping her wrapped up, improving her sanity, and wondering if he'll leave her gives him the freedom to do whatever he wants, especially when she's locked up in her room. She can't question him or ask him where he's been or where he's going because she's too wrapped up in her own issues. If she did question him, he'll just bring up that she takes things and then hides them and is losing her wits. Notice also that he is the one taking the things and hiding them, not her. So the scene where the realtor has heard that the wife had a mental breakdown, that means word has gotten around and that it means that word has gotten around that she is crazy. The wife probably doesn't even know. People around town think she's crazy. She's not crazy, but her husband is driving her crazy. He takes away the dog she loves and keeps her isolated. He reads her letters and hides them from her. The wife thinks that her cousin hasn't written to her, and she's sad about it. But that was the letter that he hid in his pocket, the letter from her cousin. So right now you could assume that he's been taking letters from her family and hiding so she doesn't see it. So now she's wondering, oh my gosh, where's my family? My cousin hasn't written to me. So what he's doing is he keeps her from the people who love and care for her. She's probably used to being around people who love and care for her. This keeps her, and why he's doing that is because it keeps her dependent on him and making her think that she's going crazy. And making her think that she's going crazy makes her even more dependent on him and keeps him in control. So let me do that again. So keeping her away from her family keeps her dependent on him, and making her think she is going crazy makes her even more dependent and keeps him in control. So he's really, really doing a mind job on her. He is her only source of love and affection. He won't interact with other people at least not that she knows of, and he blames her for it. In other words, she can't be around other people because she's going crazy. So he becomes her only source of entertainment and companionship. She's locked up in her room. When she takes walks, she's all alone. He's telling her that, oh, you can't really, stray too far from home because, you're losing it. So she becomes dependent on him. So other ways psychopaths do this, aside from that, is to make the victim feel unlovable. So another way is they'll tell the victim you're unlovable. And how they do that is they'll say, well, I'm the only one who will deal with you. I'm the only one who'll put up with your crap, or nobody likes you. So in that way, same as Bella, you're not going around other people. You are kind of like isolating yourself because you're like, well, people don't like me, then I'm not going to be around someone because you just feel funny being around other people. So psychopaths do that, and that isolates you. And sometimes, in most cases, what they'll do is they will surround you with their friends and family. Then they'll tell you how their friends and families can't stand you or wonder why they are even with you. And all this is done to devalue you or the target. I don't mean you if you're not in this situation, but it's devalue you, the target, lower the target's self-esteem, and make the target dependent on them. So the wife doesn't have her family around. And when when the psychopath, if you're in a relationship, friendship, or whatever, in a situation, even at a job, if you're in a situation where the psychopath kind of like isolates you from people who are sympathetic towards you or who care, or, who won't be hostile towards you, what they're doing is they're kind of like making you more dependent. And then they're the only ones who are nice to you, takes time to speak to you and stuff. You're becoming more dependent on them. And in the case of the movie, the wife doesn't have her family around to give her a true assessment and tell her she's not crazy, or monitor his actions to see if he's treating her well. So when you get isolated and you're more dependent on the psychopath, what happens is there's no second opinion. You're dependent. It's only you and the psychopath. You don't have Bella doesn't have her family around to say, well, I don't think you're overreacting. Why is he going out every night? Why is he so mean to you? Look how he talks to you. Her family's not around to do that, and he wants that. And that's why the psychopath kind of like does that. So let's do the next 15 minutes of the movie. They're still in the drawing room.
Since we came to this house that I've changed. I never wanted to come here. Yet it was my money that made it possible for you to buy it. Is that why you married me, Paul?
You have changed, Bella.
And what's made me change? What's made you change, Paul? Because you have in the way you treat me. I believe it's ever since that day when I found that old envelope addressed to Louis Bauer. It was the first time that you were angry with me like this.
Bella, I told you I had forgotten that incident. My only anxiety has always been to get you well.
Just quickly, when she mentioned the letter, you should have seen the look on his face. He looked really angry, really uncomfortable, and it was like a flash. If you watch the movie, notice that he's just like, he's upset. It's this look on his face, and then what he does is he like kind of calms down quickly, and now he's like just sly talking to her.
I must get away from here. I'll never be well till I get away from this house. Just
She's looking out the window. It's a puppet show outside.
Come outside, Judy. Come along.
She's looking at the kids in the puppet show. She's having fun. She's smiling.
Paul, I could. My cousins, the Ellswaters. It would be lovely to smell Devonshire again.
Your cousin, Mr. Vincent Alswater, at the effrontery to oppose our marriage.
Oh, but that's over and done with. Vincent won't mind now.
But I mind. I have no desire to reopen our acquaintance. Besides, I don't care to drag strangers into our troubles.
They're not strangers. They're my own people. They're all I have. I want to see them. I will see them.
If
She's
you see
abstinent.
anyone, it will be a doctor.
No.
She's scared
No,
now.
not a
She's
doctor.
backing down a bit.
I'm better. Please.
So just like when she was like, I will go to my family, she was like really strong and had her stance. And then he mentioned that she was crazy, and now she's like falling apart again right in front of him.
Leave me alone. Oh.
She's crying. She's holding her head. She's agitated. The scene of the puppet is not making her feel better. He's standing next to her, like staring her down, frowning on her.
But I don't see how I can take the responsibility for you any longer.
Oh, he's such a...
Oh, Bella. Don't cry. You spoiled your looks. And I wanted you to look very beautiful tonight. Have you any objections to being seen out with your husband?
Why are you going to take me out?
Now she looks happy again.
There's a charity
He's
concert
cuddling
tonight at Winterborne
her.
House.
He's holding
I could get
her.
tickets. I know Lady Winterborne.
Concert and you take me.
I shouldn't enjoy it, my dear, provided.
Oh, how wonderful.
Provided that you promise to control yourself. To behave as you know I'd wish my wife to behave.
I promise. What shall I wear?
Whatever you look prettiest in, my dear. Bella, wear the cameo brooch I gave you.
The
when we
brooch
got
he took.
engaged.
I will.
She's getting dressed. The maid is helping her get dressed. She's excited. The younger maid, Nancy, is helping her with her hair.
Please, Nancy. Big cameo. Yes, ma'am. It's not here, ma'am.
Oh, must be.
Look underneath. Oh, of course it's here. Let me look.
Perhaps I left it in another dress.
He's dressed up in his tuxedo, waiting downstairs.
Oh, Nancy, my cloak.
Which one, ma'am?
Well, which one do you think?
Couldn't say, I'm sure, ma'am.
Oh. This will do.
Nancy looks upset. Bella's going downstairs, all dressed up. He's looking at her. He's smiling.
What a very lovely purse. Charming. But not my brooch.
I would have worn it. You know how fond I am of it, only it didn't go with this dress.
Well, I wouldn't presume to criticize your taste. But your hair, is it quite right? Come, I hold that.
He's telling her to go fix her hair. He took a purse. He's taking something out of his inside pocket, his watch.
7:45, Bella.
He's taking his watch out.
I think I'm making
And
it worse. My hand's quite shaky with excitement.
He put his watch in her purse. They don't show you that though, so it's kind of a
Oh, there's
spoiler
the-
alert. You just see his watch near her purse. He gives her back her purse, smiling.
I think I'm going to enjoy myself tonight.
She only knew.
John and Mr. Holmes.
So it's the party scene. They are walking in. The
Mr. and
person's
Mrs.
announcing everybody who's coming in.
Prince Hanua and
It's a
Mr.
charity
Ryan.
ball, I think. Charity concert.
Mr. and Mrs. Mellon.
That's the husband and wife.
How do you do?
How do you do? May I introduce my wife?
How do you do? How do you do? A very good cause, isn't it?
Lady Frington, Miss Frington.
Okay, she just said hello to the host.
Mr. Rawling, Miss Rawling.
Charming, quite a complexion.
Some guests are calling Bella charming. They're all sitting down. Everyone's sitting down for the concert.
You're the most beautiful of all.
The concert's about to start. I hate saying this word. The pianist is sitting at the piano. He's about to play. Everything's quiet. Everyone's watching the show. Well, the concert, watching him play. Bella's totally into it. Mr. Mellon's just looking forward. Now he's looking at his wife sideways. Bella's totally into it. He's reaching into his pocket now, Mr. Mellon, looking for his watch. Oh, look, his watch is gone. He's whispering to his wife, who's totally into the scene, to the concert.
Watch is gone.
Must have forgotten it. Worry about it now.
She just see the way he's looking at her. Now she's scared.
I don't know anything about it, Paul.
It was my pocket when we left the house.
Paul, don't look at me like that.
Look at your back.
Okay, she's crying. It's sad. Oh boy. She's crying. She's holding her heart. She's completely agitated. People are noticing. People look a little bit annoyed. He just showed her the watch in her purse. Everyone's telling them to be quiet. The pianist is getting upset.
Please, ma'am, you're seen in public.
Oh gosh, Bella's about to throw up or something. He's leading her out the concert. Everybody's looking. The hostess is getting up.
Lady Winterbourne, I
Bella
do
looks like she's about
apologize.
to puke.
Let me send for a doctor.
I don't think it's nothing unusual, unfortunately.
It's nothing unusual. Everyone's looking at them. Bella's like having a breakdown. He looks embarrassed. They're riding home. He's not even looking at her. He's looking straight ahead with no expression. Bella's looking at him.
Paul, speak to me. Don't sit there silent. I can't stand it. Hit me, hurt me, do anything, but for pity's sake, speak to me.
Bella looks so upset. They're going into the house now. He's walking ahead of her. He's like upset.
Paul, how can you torture me like this?
And have you not tortured me? You make my life a misery at home, and now you shame me in public. At least let's keep your stealing and pickpocketing and lying to ourselves.
I haven't lied to you. I didn't take your watch.
What about the brooch? The one I asked you to wear tonight. The one that didn't go with your dress.
It's upstairs in my room.
More lies.
It is. It must be. It's only mislaid, Paul.
You've hidden it away in one of your mad dreams.
I have not. If it's gone, someone else has taken it.
Someone else. We see about someone else.
No, this is the brooch that he took and locked in his cabinet.
Elizabeth, Nancy.
He's calling the
Come
maid.
up to the drawing room. At once, please.
So they're at home now. He's calling the maids. They're all going to the drawing
Oh,
room.
please don't question the servants in front of me.
Oh, dear, dear, what's happened now?
That's Nancy and Elizabeth, the maids.
Tilly, go into your basket. There you are.
Tilly's the dog.
Stop titivating yourself. Come on.
She's putting the dog in the basket. They're all going
Please don't
upstairs.
put that girl up here. At least let me look again first.
So Bella's sitting down. She looks scared and worried. He turned on the light. She's staring at the gaslight. The maids are coming up. She locks the door.
It may have fallen behind the dressing table. Let's talk this over between ourselves. Please, please don't let the servants know.
Come in! Shut the door, please, Elizabeth. Come into the room.
Bella's all worked up. She's in a frenzy.
You know the cameo brooch your mistress often wears?
Yes, sir.
You, Nancy?
Yes, sir.
It is missing. Do you know anything about it? I want you to think carefully before you answer, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth's the older one. They all look sad and worried.
No, sir, I don't.
Well,
Will you
both the
please
maids
kiss
look
the
sad and
Bible in
worried.
token of your truthfulness?
Elizabeth's going to kiss the Bible to say she's telling the truth.
Thank you. You, Nancy, have you ever touched the brooch?
No, sir, of course I haven't.
So Nancy just kissed the Bible.
Thank you. You may go.
Now he's dismissing the maids. They're leaving. Bella's a wreck. Bella's the wife. She's running to the Bible.
Be careful what you do. Don't commit sacrilege as well.
Well, there's no secret.
She brushes his hand aside. She's
Swear by
has her
Almighty
face
God
in-
that I neither took your watch nor hid away the brooch.
she's holding the Bible for dear life.
You unhappy creature. And you'll get worse until you die.
Oh.
Raving in an asylum.
If you watch the movie, see his face when he says it. It's so mean. Bella just looked at him, got scared. She's walking up the steps, like totally broken. Mr. Mellon's closing the drawing room door, but Nancy just came up.
Where the devil are you going, Nancy?
I came to save so many letters to the post. sir.
Nancy's the maid again.
Are you expecting to meet somebody on your way to the post?
Only a gentleman friend, sir.
So I suppose.
He's smiling and flirting with her.
Are there any letters, sir?
Come in for a moment, will you?
So he's taking Nancy in the drawing room, closing the door.
Let me have a look at your hair.
Very good, sir. Is there anything more you want, sir?
Perhaps. Come closer, will you?
Yes, sir. Is there anything you want, sir?
He grabbed Nancy by the collar, pulled her in. He's kissing the maid.
There. Can she do that for you?
I believe you're jealous of your mistress, Nancy.
Huh? She's a poor thing.
He's making out with the maid.
It's better than one of us who get excited.
Yes, Nancy, I believe it is.
You're mine now, aren't you? Because you want me.
And do you want me?
I've always wanted you.
When should we meet?
I'll let you know.
Not tonight.
No, I have to go out again. Go along now, there's a good girl.
Very well. You should be master for a bit longer. Good night, your lordship.
Let you come.
After she left, he
Yes.
kind of looked agitated again.
Well, the constable passed about 10 minutes ago, sir.
So
They can't get back from that concert before 11.
the scene's outside
Maybe
now,
time to find out what he gets up to in number 14.
and it's the
The thing is,
retired
sir,
cop talking
I
to
usually
the
meet Nancy when
kid,
she comes out at 9
well,
o'clock to post the
the young
letters.
guy he's talked to.
Well, she never came.
Well, we'll have to risk it.
All right, so I got so into it, I left. Okay, so that's the 15 minutes. So what happened in that scene? So the wife is calling him out in the beginning and becoming suspicious. Remember in the beginning, she was like, you know, you were always nice to me till I found that letter, and then he got upset. So she found something that could expose him. And that's when he started gaslighting her so that he could keep his mask on longer. In the movie, he looks really angry. Like, you have to see the look on his face that she brought up that incident that almost exposed him, but then he calms down and plays it off. So how does he get out of that? So he gets out of it by reminding her that she's going crazy, and he only cares about helping her get better. So he just redirected the focus right back to her. So you see how he is using her so-called insanity to keep control and deflect attention from his wrongdoings being found out or being exposed. So someone might argue, somebody listening to this might say, that might argue that, you know what, this is a normal human response. It's not necessarily psychopathic. You know, he's this is a normal human response to try to protect yourself by blaming the other person or pointing out that something, I'm sorry. It is a normal human response to try to protect yourself by blaming the other person or pointing out the other person's flaws. Did you fall for that statement? Most people would, because that's something a psychopath would say to make it seem that, something a psychopath would say to make what they did seem right or tone down the severity of the wrongdoing. That statement points out the fault of humanity as a whole and spreads the blame. Oh, it's not just me, it's human. You know, it's not, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not necessarily a psychopath because I did that. So what the psychopath, saying is, the psychopath was just behaving as a human would under the same circumstances. That's BS. Why? Because most humans wouldn't go after another person so viciously. Taking and hiding things to make her think she's crazy, that's extreme. Most humans would appeal to the other person's reason. Oh, that letter you found? Oh, that wasn't a big deal. Not use manipulation and deception to the point of making a person doubt his or her own sanity. If they did use manipulation or deception, it would be at a bare minimum or at a minimum. A human response might say, oh, you're crazy. Not actually do things to drive the person crazy. Are you starting to see the differences between a normal human response, even a bad human response, and a psychopathic response? A psychopath's response is an extreme of what a bad human response would be. So even a bad human would not go as far as the psychopath would. The wife Bella, the wife is starting to grow suspicious, and she wants to see her family. Like, remember, she took a stand. She was like, I'm going to see my family. And he refuses, and he even threatens to have her see a doctor. She gets scared because he's threatening. What he's doing is he's threatening to have her committed to a psych ward. That's why she gets so scared when he says she's losing his wits. He's indirectly threatening her with being committed. She's getting a bit too agitated, and he may have overdone it. Like, he's like, oh my gosh, okay, maybe I'm kind of like going overboard. The psychopath doesn't want you to be like, that's it, So he's like, okay, all right. So he has to reel her back in. So he's getting kind of nervous. So he starts to love bomb her. He's like holding her, he's cuddling her, and he's cuddling her and everything. So in the movie, what you're gonna see is while she's watching the show, because she was watching the puppet play outside the show at that time, and she was totally enjoying herself. He goes over and he's like looking at her sideways, enjoying herself, and he just like totally destroyed her mood. First he used that because she was already he used that. I forget what happened, but he went over and he got her really agitated for fun. And you could tell he was enjoying it. And then after he got her agitated, he was like, okay, I'm going to take you out tonight. He's just like totally playing with her. It's disgusting. So anyway, you'll see when if you see the movie. So she is hanging on his every touch and affection. Like, every time he touches her, like in the movie, she's starved for it. Like, she's eating it up. She's just like, so you could tell that it seems as if it seems, because of the way she's acting, like starved for his affection and his attention, it seems as if there's an emotional abuse as well as psychological abuse. And it's not, in the movie, he's not going to hit her. There's no physical abuse, but there's a lot of psychological abuse. And from the way she's acting, really starved for his attention, not in a psychopathic way, but just like every little touch is like, she's so happy just to get it. There seems to be some emotional abuse also. You can tell that he doesn't give her affection often. So when he does, she eats it up. Psychopaths know that being affectionate, and don't mistake that with intimacy or sex, but just having genuine affection is important in a relationship. So they will use that and withhold and give affection to keep control or manipulate someone. Notice that he does all this by pretending to be nice, caring, and even trying to cheer her up. Oh, Bella, you're upset. Let me cheer you up. He made her upset. So he's acting like he's helping her. I mentioned this not to get you suspicious of everyone who tries to help you, but helping is one of the psychopath's favorite tricks. And it is in your best interest to figure out when the offer of help is truly genuine and sincere, and when it is figure out when the offer of help is very sincere, or if it's just another trick to trap you. Also notice that if you watch the movie again, he had this big smile on his face when she was in anguish. He was like, oh my gosh. He was just, you should have seen the smile on his face. So how does a psychopath feed off another person's emotions how does a psychopath, he was feeding off her grief. How does a psychopath feed off another person's pain and grief? Think about when you saw something cute or sweet, like puppies playing or someone getting a gift they always wanted. You get a good feeling, even though it isn't directly happening to you. You're sharing in their joy or good time without being a direct part of it. So when his wife was in anguish, he took her into his arm and pooed her. He had a big grin on his face, like he was totally enjoying it. If you didn't know about psychopaths, it looks like he just thinks she's being silly because he's like pulling her, and it's like, oh, Bella, you're overreacting, being silly. That's what, as a person who doesn't know about psychopaths, that's how you would probably interpret his behavior. However, now that you know that he is a psychopath that intentionally caused her the grief through petty and cruel words and deeds, hopefully you can see that he is really feeding off the hurt he deliberately caused. Her pain brought him pleasure. It's similar to the warm feeling you get when you see someone get a gift they always wanted. But for psychopaths, they're getting that warm feeling from someone feeling terrible. So he sets her up to be humiliated in public and confirms the rumors and to confirm the rumors of her being crazy. Up until now, Bella probably hasn't acted crazy in public. So it's just like, people are like, oh, she's crazy, but they haven't seen anything. So people saw her break down and they will talk about it. Then he gives her the silent treatment in the car. He does this so that he has an excuse not to take her out. Remember, like in the beginning, when that whole scene started where she's looking out the window, Bella wants to go out. Bella wants to see people. She wants to be around other people. She wants to have fun. He goes out every night. He doesn't take her out. So how's he going to shut her up about that? Oh, well, she can't complain that he never takes her out because he'll point out that particular incident and how she embarrassed him in public. Not to mention that he looked like the husband suffering with a mentally ill wife to the rest of the town. As you can see, he's going out, having fun, meeting people. He said that he knew the hostess of the charity concert. He's meeting people, but he's also spreading lies about his wife while she's locked up in the house and only goes out for walks very close to home. He gets to be married, spend her money, and live like a bachelor. So I hope, now that you're learning about psychopaths and their tricks, you're not seeing this at face value, which, even before I learned about psychopaths, you see it through a human lens. You're not thinking the worst of someone. And I'm not trying to tell you to go around thinking the worst of someone. I'm just telling you to recognize when someone's a psychopath and when there's manipulation and deception. So that's that scene. So let's go through the next 15 minutes. So at this scene, the retired cop and the guy who works with him, who's dating the maid or seeing the maid, are outside of the 14 Pimco Square, which is next door to Bella's house. He's trying to get in the house. He's telling the guy that's with him to keep the maid distracted. The maid was going out to get the mail or send the mail and stuff. And so she's going to take a walk. When she's going out to take the walk, she's going to meet up with this other guy who's her other, like, she's dating. She's dating. She's young. She's dating. So she's going to go see this other guy. And the cop is like, well, just keep her busy. While he tries to go into next door because he wants to know why Mr. Mellon the husband is going into that house. So back to that.
You wait about. If Nancy does come out, squeeze her dry. Of information, I mean.
So the retired cop is now in the brownstone 14, and the young guy's waiting outside. So he's going around. Nancy,
you're late.
Hello, nice of you to wait. Such goings on. Master made us swear things, kissing the Bible and all.
Master, but I thought they were at the concert.
Oh, they came back early. Must have had another row. Come on, I've got to take the letters.
Well, look, let me take them for you. It'll save you the trouble.
Oh, I like a bit of air. And a change.
okay. So he was supposed to be guarding door 14. Mr. Mellon is now walking down the street, looking around. He's taking his keys out, and he's about to go into brownstone 14, where the retired cop is. So Nancy took the guy away. He was supposed to be watching. The cop is going upstairs. Just heard Mr. Mellon come in. He's looking for a place to hide. The cop hides in like a doorway or something. Mr. Mellon's walking up. Like, oh my God, is Mr. Mellon going to see him? And he doesn't. Mr. Mellon goes right up the steps. Didn't even see the cop, the retired cop. The cop steps out and just sneaks up after Mr. Mellon. Mr. Mellon is in the balcony, way on top of the house. He's walking over. He's crossing over to his house next door. The cop is like slowly behind him. Mr. Mellon goes into his house. So now they're cutting to the scene. Bella's in her room, locked up in her room. She notices something. She looks tired. She hears walking upstairs. But remember, they don't use the upper 2 floors. So she hears stomping upstairs. And she's like just confused. So she's looking up at the ceiling right now. She's running out of her room. And
Upstairs, there's someone moving. Elizabeth! Oh, dear, is there no one?
It's all right, ma'am. I'm coming.
Elizabeth's the older maid.
Elizabeth, there is someone upstairs. Someone moving.
There, ma'am. Don't take on so. There isn't anybody in the house, only you and me. You mustn't let yourself imagine things. Come into your room and drink your milk.
But I don't imagine things, Elizabeth. It's true. You can hear it. Listen. A moment ago there was, and the gas dimmed, as it does when someone turns on another light in the house. Did you turn on another light, Elizabeth?
No, ma'am. There's no one in the house but us. Nancy's out and the master.
You did a minute ago.
So she's testing the gaslight, turning up and down, up and down.
There's only something wrong with the pipes. You must have dropped off and been dreaming you heard something.
That's right, Elizabeth. Dreaming.
Miss Mellon
I
was
dream
frantic.
things when I'm awake. I'm going out of my mind, Elizabeth.
Remember the
Oh,
scene. She's
you
telling
mustn't
Elizabeth
say
that she's going out of
such
mind, out of her
Oh,
mind.
no, Elizabeth.
Well, the master did say something, but
I once knew a girl who died in a lunatic asylum. I remember her eyes. That was how they first knew.
if there's anything I can do, ma'am.
No, thank you, Elizabeth. There isn't anything anybody can do.
Miss Mellon's just looking at herself in the mirror. She looks like totally. She thinks she's going crazy. Like she's starting to believe her husband. Now she hears the thumping upstairs again. She's holding her head. She's just like, she's in like mental anguish right now. She turned on music. But she could still hear the thumping. Okay. Yes. She just wants us to stop. She's holding her head. She's beating her bed a little bit. And now the gaslight is like brightening again. So this is just Miss Mel in her room, like thinking she's losing her mind and just being in anguish. Okay, fade to black. And now the scene fades in. The retired cop,
Yes, come. There's a letter from Australia, sir.
Tom, is the boy, the younger gentleman. So the retired cop just got a letter from Australia.
Cobb, I really am a
Oh,
remarkable
Cobb
man.
is his name.
Yes, sir.
It's my memory. Amazing. They shall have it for the museum when I die. With any luck, this should help us. When's Nancy's next night out?
Well, tonight, sir.
Yes, I wish it was Mrs. Mellon's instead. Still, it all goes to show that I'm on the right lines, as usual. All I want now is evidence.
Evidence of what, sir?
Well, I'm certain that he's Louis Bauer. And I've a shrewd idea of what he's up to in that house. Can't prove it, of course. The only one who can help us is that poor woman.
And she's crazy.
She will be if she stays there much longer.
Does she know that he's not Mallon?
Don't think so. But she knows something. That's her danger. That's why we've got to get her away from him. Out of that house.
That's easier said than done, sir.
Cobb!
What is it?
Gentleman to see the governor.
It's a stranger, sir. Shall I talk to him?
Thank God you're here, sir. Come along in.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't know he was a friend
Never
of yours.
seen him in my life before.
You, Mr. Brown?
That's right.
I got your letter. I'm
Mr. Vincent Alswater from Devonshire. Come along and sit down, sir. I've got a lot to talk to you about.
Your boots, sir.
Mm-hmm. Mrs. Mellon is in her room.
So
Yes,
cut to the
I
scene.
think she's got an headache.
They're in
sir.
the drawing room.
Do you
It's
ever know a
Nancy
time
and
when
Mr.
Mrs.
Mellon.
Mellon did not have a headache, Nancy.
Hardly ever, sir.
And when is your next evening out, Nancy?
Tonight.
And where do you usually pass the evenings with your gentleman friends, Nancy?
Oh, walking around the square, sir. Or in the park.
And perhaps it would be departing too much from tradition if you were to come with me to a music hall.
Oh, do you mean it?
I always mean what I say. I shall meet you at 7:50 at the corner of the square.
You're a rummin. I thought you was never going to do nothing.
Okay.
That'll do, Nancy. Answer the bell.
Is Mrs. Mellon, though?
What name should I say, sir?
Her cousin, Mr. Alswater.
Okay. So I kind of got my timeline messed up in my notes. So if you see me looking sideways, I'm looking at my notes. All right. So that was 10 minutes. Okay. All right. So, okay, so I kind of messed up the timeline. So let's go back to that scene. So, Mr. Mellon humiliated her in front of the maids. And if you notice from that scene where he had everybody kiss the Bible, he uses religion and God to trap her. His mask came off and he was so nasty. If you watch this, just look at his face. Like the way he said it was like, ugh. So in a way, so what he did, in a way, he was punishing her for bringing up an incident that upset him. So let's stop and think about what happened in that scene where they kissed the Bible and he just went for her. So the wife said something that really upset her husband. And that was in the first scene. And this was like way back in the first scene where she was looking out the window. She was like, well, you were nice to me till I found that letter. Okay, that really upset him. And he played it off like he wasn't even bothered by it. And then what he did was he proceeded to launch a covert emotional and psychological attacks on her. So he proceeded to launch covert emotional and psychological attacks on her. It worked, but this time she seemed to really have pissed him off. And he decided to humiliate her in public and back at the house in front of the maid. So if you remember, she brought up the letter, he got upset, and he was going for her. And then, no, he was like getting her upset, probably like one of his little like routines where he upsets her for fun. She brought up the letter. He got really, really mad. She said, well, I want to go visit my family. I'm going to visit my family. So she was being defiant. He was losing control. And then he got upset and he reminded her she was going crazy. And then, and she brought up the letter. He reminded her she was going crazy. Then he's like, okay, I'm going to take you out. Okay, so he took her out and he humiliated her. Like, he was pissed. But you would have guessed it because his mask was on tight. That whole scene that you saw, if you didn't know what was going on, you would never guess how upset he was, And not only was he pissed, he had his mask on tight, and his wife never knew what hit her or why he was really so mad at her. At that moment, she thought he was mad. When he came back and he just went for her, she thought he was mad because she embarrassed him in public with her crazy behavior, and at the same time, she would have blamed herself for the whole incident and his rage. She would have said, I made him angry. I acted crazy. And guess what? He would have agreed. But the truth is, he was really upset because she was starting to question him. She was starting to stand up to him. And she mentioned an incident that almost exposed him. So his trigger or his little soft spot was the letter. In a non-fictional situation, his soft spot may have been that maybe he cheated. Maybe he stole some of your money. Maybe, maybe he's leading a secret life and stuff. So when you touch a spot where a psychopath is a soft spot for a psychopath, they're gonna come at you, but you're not gonna know because they're gonna play it off. Like Bella, you're not gonna know what hit you. You don't know what happened, and you're gonna be the one to blame. You caused this, and the real reason might not come out till later, if you even find out the real reason of why that whole incident happened. So he was really upset with her because she was starting to question him, stand up to him, and mention an incident that almost exposed him. What happened was Bella was put in a competition that she didn't even know she was in. He waged a covert war on her, similar to the way TIs feel in the beginning of the campaign and sometimes afterwards. A TI didn't even know someone was fighting. TIs, you didn't even know someone was fighting you, but you sure felt the blows, didn't you? It's not until it's too late that you figure out what just happened. Then you're in a fight, but you still have no clue why or how the war against you is being waged, kind of like the wife. If the audience ever had to deal with an upset psychopath in a non-gang stalking situation, you'll find the same is true. You are torn to pieces for some unknown reason and may even have to take the blame. So notice this wasn't like a physical attack. This was a psychological attack and it was an emotional attack. And the thing about psychological and emotional attacks, they don't leave scars. They're harder to find, they're harder to figure out, So you were torn apart, torn to pieces. Your mind was messed with and you didn't even know. You didn't even know what hit you. You didn't even know something hit you. It's like, you're just like, whoa. You're just there like, I don't know, like Bella, you're just stumped. You're like, something happened, but I'm not sure what happened. Auntie, I mentioned that when she was dealing with gang stalkers in the beginning, She's like, sometimes like when I'm talking to someone, to one of them, I feel like I'm in a fight, but everyone's cordial. There's nothing like, she said she was looking around. There's nothing wrong, but somehow I feel like I'm fighting and I don't know why. So sometimes you get that feeling where, okay, something's wrong. I feel like something's going on, but I don't know, because on the outside, everything looks fine. You know, if you didn't know what was going on, Mr. Mellon's behavior didn't seem unusual. And, you know, honestly, Belle looked like she was to blame. But now that you know what's going on, you see how a psychopath wages these wars. So after all that happened, Mr. Mellon sees Nancy comes up to get letters. So Nancy, the maid, the young maid, comes up to get letters, and he hits on her like nothing happened. He's in a good mood. He just practically destroyed his wife. He unleashing his anger on her and feeding. He unleashed his anger on her and fed off her grief. He feels better. He kept humiliating his wife in front of this maid, Nancy, so that the maid would be disrespectful towards her and wouldn't be afraid to help him cheat. That was his plan all along. You will notice psychopaths humiliate their partners in public a lot. Most of us have seen dysfunctional relationships where one partner is always putting the other down and treating them like crap in public. You may have wondered why the other person tolerates that behavior. That person might have been gaslighted and manipulated into accepting this type of behavior or thinking what the psychopathic partner is saying or doing is okay. Kind of like what you see happening with Mrs. Mellon. This may not be true in every case of, you know, dysfunctional relationship where one partner is always putting down the other, but it might be true in some cases. So the maids, as you saw when Elizabeth, the older maid, you know, both the maids started to baby the wife and talk down to her in a way, you know. They started doing that like she's crazy, like, oh, Miss Mellon, you must be dreaming. And, you know, you saw the way they were talking to her. So T.I. said that, you know, that was how she was treated in the beginning of the campaign, where she had no idea what was happening, but knew something was happening. All of a sudden, it seemed that everyone treated her differently, talking down to her. She's like, wherever she went, people were either being mean to her or talking down to her. And then, you know, when a TI doesn't know what is going on, it will seem as if everyone and the world has gone mad. So let me say it again, because I kind of like cut off one idea and went to other. So when a TI doesn't know what is going on, it will seem as if everyone and the world has gone mad. But after a TI finds out what is going on, they realize that they are being swarmed and isolated, and that the everyone's are really beasts planted around him or her. And those everyone's are not the normal population. If there is a normal person in that scene, you know, or if there's a normal person around when the TI was isolated, someone, you know, and there will be normal people around, because as I told you, they are in your world. They're living in a human society. That's why the masks are on tight. That's why they got to keep hiding, lying, being deceptive. So they are in your world. And when you go out, TIs, know that you might be surrounded and isolated and swarmed by the beasts, but the beasts are surrounded by humans. Okay, so there will be a human there, even though like they're constantly doing something to keep your mind off of interacting with other human beings. There are other human beings there, and sometimes a normal person might be in the mix of the swarm or this isolation or this stalking, but just like the maids, that normal person has been made to think that the TI is crazy, or may have been made the TI is crazy, or someone's going to, you know, try to make them think the TI is crazy, or one of the beasts are going to try to make them think the TI is crazy. And they may also talk down to TI because of what, you know, the beast has told them, what he or what they have heard elsewhere through rumors. So just be aware of that. You know, it's a very complicated situation, and I mean, this whole thing is just full of smoke and mirrors. It's just like a web of deceit, you know. So be aware that you are still in the human world. Thank goodness. They haven't taken over, and hopefully they won't. That just like they're isolating you, they're kind of isolated themselves, because there's you in the middle, there's them isolating you, and then all around is normal human beings. Okay. And it's like they're just standing in between you and interacting with normal humans. So know that normal humans are there. And sometimes the people who you feel are coming at you might be normal human beings who have heard or who have been deceived into thinking that you're this insane person. It's so, and I mean, it's like it gets confusing, it gets overwhelming. You're like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on anymore. But once I'm letting you see these things, because once you know what's going on and stuff, you'll be better to be like adjust your behavior and survive a little bit better. Because if you think that everyone around you is a beast coming after you, you might end up attacking a normal human being, and that kind of makes their stance a little bit stronger, because that person could deny all responsibility. You're going to look crazy. If you attack a normal human being thinking it's a TI, thinking it's a beast, and attack meaning like not a physical attack, but if you're like go after them, oh, she's doing this and she's doing that or whatever, try and defend yourself, and you end up fighting another human being, that's a really strong stance against you, because this person doesn't know what's going on. This person is not a beast, and all those denials will come, forth. You don't really have much on this person, and that's going to make you look crazy. Whereas if you like go after a beast, some things, you say and stuff might ring a bell. So it's all smoke and mirrors. They do that on purpose, and it's all to discredit you and make you look crazy. So that's why it's kind of like important to watch how you behave, or how you kind of like strike back if you feel, you not strike back, but how you like respond to them, because you're not really sure. I mean, sometimes you're certain. Sometimes it's clear that this is a beast, this person's coming after me. But sometimes, they might be deceiving you into thinking that this person, and sometimes they'll lead you that way. They'll deceive you into thinking that's because they like pitting people against each other, and they like to watch the fight. That's a lot of psychopaths do that. They want to pit you against this person. They're just going to sit back and watch you two battle out, and they'll be like in there pushing this button, pushing that button, pushing this button, like the puppet master, and just watching the fight. And they just enjoy provoking the situation. So let me stop rambling on about that, because I could do a video on that. So anyway, so the wife starts to believe that she is crazy and really starts going crazy. That's why I told you, remember that scene where she's like talking to Elizabeth, the older maid, and she's like, oh my gosh, she's just totally defeated. She thinks she's crazy. She's hearing a noise upstairs. Obviously she's hearing a noise. Elizabeth doesn't hear it. Her husband told her she's crazy. She has to be going crazy. She's like, now she's being convinced that she's going crazy. And what's happening is she's having a hard time differentiating reality from delusion. However, what she thinks are delusions are reality. It's just that her psychopath husband keeps telling her that she's delusional in order to hide what he's doing and give him more control. This sounds a lot like the TI experience, except it's not just a spouse telling another that she or he is crazy. So I want to go back to that. So, however, she thinks that her delusions are reality. She hears the noise upstairs. He's upstairs. It's reality. But she starts thinking it's delusional because her husband kept telling her, you're losing your wits. Elizabeth just came up. Elizabeth didn't hear the stomping. So even though it's reality that there is a noise, she did hear the noise. It's real. She's starting to think that reality is delusion because no one else heard it and her husband told her she's crazy. So that's what I mean by that. I thought maybe that would confuse people. So anyway. So this sounds a lot like the TI experience, except it's not just a spouse telling another that she or he is crazy. It's a network of psychopaths in the TI experience stalking by proxy and telling or making a TI feel as if she or he is crazy for thinking that she or he is being stalked by a network of psychopaths. So let me try that again. So what is happening to Bella sounds a lot like the TI experience, except it's not just a spouse telling another that she's crazy. It's a network of psychopaths. They're stalking by proxy. And not only that, they're telling or making the TI feel as if she or he is crazy for thinking that she or he is being stalked by a network of psychopaths. So you see these people doing these things, pointing, wearing red, doing all this bull, this BS, okay? But the people in the normal population don't see it. And the person who's doing it is telling you, oh, no, it's not happening. It's delusional. And what happens is what's reality, the TI think is delusion. So it's like a mind game. You see how it's a very warped mind game. So yeah, these people are doing this to you. Yeah, they're giving that signal, but they're going to deny that it's happening. And the normal population are going to say that you're overreacting, or this is not happening, or that's not the reason for this. And therefore your reality, what you see as reality and what is real, has not become delusion. So it's really tricky. It's crazy. I hope I didn't confuse you. So the gang stalkers are trying to make a TI think that the reality is really a delusion. That's why they try so hard to let you know they are there. Like, they will do everything to make a TI. If most TIs try to ignore them, they will do everything so that the TI will know that they're there. But if you bring it up, they're going to deny when you start seeing them. They're going to deny it. Oh, you didn't see me that. Oh, I'm just wearing, I'm just pointing. I'm just running, I'm just riding my bike, They're going to deny it. So that way you think you're delusional, and none of these things mean anything. That's what they're going to make you think. None of these mean anything. You're overreacting, blah, blah, blah. So it's all to get you, the TI, to have a hard time telling reality from delusion, and to end up not trusting yourself. And when you start seeing reality, but thinking it's delusion, you're going to start thinking like Miss Mellon, you're going to start thinking you're crazy. You start not trusting yourself. And when you start not trusting yourself, what's going to happen? You're going to rely on someone else to tell you what is real. I mean, I hope it's all kind of like coming together, like some of the method behind their madness. You're going to walk around, sort of lost until someone finds you and helps you figure out what was happening or is happening to you. And that someone will probably be a gang stalker because you are caught in the trap and you're crying out for help. And the fox answered. You are confused about life and feel as if you've lost your way and you don't know which way to go, and you need someone to tell you what's real. And, the beast will use God, they will use religion, and they will use spirituality. They will show up as some savior who will show you what's real. That savior will shape your that savior will shape your reality and tell you what's real. So let me explain it another way. I was watching a very good video on narcissism, and the guy in the video referred to a scene in 1984. So most TIs are familiar with the book about Big Brother and his tyrannical government. So there's a scene in the movie, 1984, about the main character. And this is after he's caught trying to fight a revolution and overthrow Big Brother. So at this point, they caught him and he is being tortured. So the torturer, he's being tortured. He's attached to some device, and this device seems to be electroshocking him. Like they have some kind of metal thing on his head. Like he's on a torture table. And the torturer puts up 4 fingers and asks him, how many fingers am I holding up? He counts and he says 4. He's electroshocked. The torturer still has 4 fingers up and asks him again, how many fingers am I holding up? He counts again and says 4. He receives more shocks. So the torturer still has the 4 fingers up and asks him the same question again. And he says, I don't know. You tell me. And that stopped the torture. So did that torturer hold up 4 fingers? Yes. Did the torturer know that he only had 4 fingers up? Of course he did. Did the guy see 4 fingers? Yes. Was his answer correct, true, and real? Yes to all that. But the point is that the torturer wanted the guy to doubt himself and his sense of reality. He wanted to make the guy unable to tell reality from delusion. The torturer wanted to shape the guy's reality and have the guy depend on him to tell him what is real. In a lot of ways, this is what's happening to TIs. And if you don't believe in gang stalking, you think it's a bunch of BS or whatever, this is also what happens to you when you're in the normal population and you're being gaslighted by a psychopath, as in the case of Miss Mellon. Gaslight is not about gang stalking. It's not about TIs or gang stalkers or any of that. It's just a population about the normal population. It's about the normal population and psychopaths and well, the situation is abnormal. It's about the normal population. The situation TIs are in is abnormal. So I think calling them normal is not like insulting. So it's about the normal population and what's going on in normal population. So you could still, as an audience member, learn a lot from what I'm saying. It's just that psychopaths are extreme. The gang stalkers are extreme psychopaths, but this story is more about your textbook psychopaths, the ones that people actually are studying and know about right now, which they're pretty much the same, like I said, but just the gang stalkers are like above and beyond that insanity. Okay, so wanted to shape the torturer, wanted to shape. Okay, so the electroshock that's being used against TIs to shape the reality is coming by the way of the devastation to the TI's life, where nothing works out for the TI, and the TI ends up in all kinds of trouble and can't figure their way out. Though all the while, the TI is being told it's your own fault. You deserve what happened to you. And they're also made to feel so incompetent that someone else has to lead them because they can't take control of themselves. You know, and this is, like I said, it's parallel to what's happening to the audience if you're dealing with a psychopath. So, I mean, you could learn a lot from this. So all the petty, pathetic, and immature things you see the husband do in this movie is not that different from the petty, pathetic, and immature things the people on this network do. What makes it so unbelievable is that there are so many people involved. So gang stalking involves a lot of people. It's not just one person making the TI think they're crazy. It's not just two people. There's a whole lot of people involved. Why? I don't know. So, you know, and that's why people can't believe it. There's just too many people involved. No one's going to spend that much time on you. Who are you that, you know, all these people are going to like, you know, waste time on you? And however, what you need to realize is that gangs and mobs still exist. I mean, is it still crazy for one person to be targeted by many at the same time for prolonged periods of time? Gangs and mobs do it all the time. They'll go after one person. You know, they get very territorial. If you upset them, they'll go after you, and you're just one person. Maybe you know what you did. I don't know. Maybe you wore the wrong color. Maybe you wore the same color as them. You don't. You know, this stuff is happening with mobs and gangs. So why is this so bizarre that, you know, TIs claim that's happening to them? Okay, I understand electronic harassment, still working on that, but for the stalking part, I don't think it's that crazy. So, as for me, I'm not a savior. I'm not trying to act like one. I'm not here to shape your reality or tell you what is happening. I don't have all the answers. I am just adding to the information pool, and I'm offering another perspective. I am a researcher trying to figure out what is going on, just like you. It is my hope that maybe one day all these little pieces of the puzzle will come together and to show, it is my hope that maybe one day all these little pieces of the puzzle will come together to show the big picture and expose the gang stalkers. So with that said, let's go to the next minutes of the movie. If you forgot, because I've been talking for so long, someone just came to the door. The cop found Mrs. Mellon's cousin. He wrote him a letter. Mrs. Mellon's cousin came, visited the cop. The cop let the cousin know. The cop let the cousin know what's going on. Now Mrs. Mellon's cousin has come to the house. Nancy just answered the door, and Mr. Mellon is alarmed because her family member just showed up unannounced. So Mr. Mellon's going downstairs now to see the cousin.
How do you do?
How do you do? Will you come in here for a moment?
He's leading the cousin to a room.
See that Mrs. Mellon is not informed of this call.
Very good, sir.
I hope you'll forgive me for calling at this hour, but I happen to be in London and I'd hoped to see Bella.
I'm sorry, but my wife is unable to see you.
Mr. Mellon, this is a little difficult to explain, but you may remember that at the time of your marriage, there was a slight friction between us.
I was peculiarly alive to the fact.
My sister and I have long regretted these differences. They've kept us separated from Bella too long.
In your opinion?
We're anxious to see her again, have her stay with us in Devonshire. The air always used to do her so much good down there.
You're under the impression she's ill?
Well,
And what has given you that impression?
she was never strong.
I'm the best guardian of my wife's health.
All the same, I should like to see my cousin.
Bella was with me when we heard you arrive. If she had wished to see you, she would not have asked me to speak to you down here.
She refused to see me.
The inference appears to me perfectly clear.
I don't think I like your tone, Malin.
You're under no obligation to listen to it, Mr. Alswater.
I'm not going to leave this house until I've seen my cousin.
You propose to interfere between a husband and wife. It would require physical force, Mr. Yes, will you please show this gentleman out?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mellon's upset. Miss Mellon's upstairs, but she sees a guy walking, and she knows it's her cousin. She's running downstairs while walking fast.
Oh, I've just seen Vincent out in the square. Has he been here?
Yes, he's been here.
You let him go without seeing me. Paul, why didn't you tell me?
So you did write to him.
Right.
Against my express orders, you went behind my back and complained to your cousin.
They're in a room.
But I didn't.
Same
I've
room
never
as a cousin.
written to them.
How did
And
you
the
know
door's
this
locked.
address?
I don't know.
Or that you'd been ill?
I don't know.
What else did you tell him?
Nothing. I never wrote.
What lies about me have you told him?
Paul,
He's all in her face.
if I had written, which
Well,
I didn't, do you
no.
suppose I'd have said a word? to
Not
him
like
since
today's
he's
all
my
in her
husband?
face.
You think I can trust the insane ravings of a mad woman?
Oh, she's upset.
Paul, don't say that.
Your mind is diseased. You are as witless as an animal.
She's anguished. She's holding her face. She's crying. She needs to sit down. She looks exhausted.
Oh, I'm desperate. If I do the things you say, then I am going mad. It's when you're angry with me like this, my head aches and my mind gets tired.
Remember that scene.
You must help me, Paul. If you were afflicted, I would be gentle. I should love you more.
Let go of my arm.
Oh, wow. He just like brushed her off. Real.
Oh, how can you be so cruel? You used not to be. It's only since we came to this hateful,
She's holding her head. She's
house
really
that
upset.
Everything's changed. It must be because of that envelope I found.
She's bringing up the envelope again.
Who was Louis Bauer?
There's no such person.
He's holding his anger.
Why
He's
should
not
that
looking
have
at her.
changed our lives? Just a name on an old envelope.
It was never even an envelope!
He just threw down a picture.
That was the beginning of your madness. I
Mad.
realized you were a half-witted creature who pried through my desk and my papers. But this is the end. You're not only mad, you are dangerous. You're going to see a doctor, madam.
No, Paul. Not a doctor.
More than one doctor tomorrow morning.
She's like falling down to the ground.
I hate you. You are utterly repulsive to me.
She's like on the floor, sitting down. She's exhausted. He has this crazy look on his face, standing outside the doorway. All right. So there's a horse. That's a horse banging the hooves.
What I can't understand is my cousin not wanting to see me.
That's the cousin and the cop.
She's his wife. I couldn't force him to let me see her. But surely there must be something we can do to help her.
Nothing you can do now. It won't do to let him get really afraid of your interference. This chamomile will take you back to your hotel.
Oh, it's very kind. But I hate leaving you to deal with all this. After all, I am her cousin.
Well, I can perhaps use methods that you can't. I may need your influence to get a warrant if I can't get my evidence.
Good.
But he won't risk anything that'll lead to an inquiry afterwards.
And in the meantime, you know where to find me. Anderton's Hotel.
Jim, Anderton's Hotel.
Come on.
Mr. Ruffson.
What's the trouble?
It's Mrs. Mullins.
What happened?
He's going to have her certified in the morning.
How do you know?
Well, Nancy heard. I was going out
Come
with
to
her
the
tonight.
point, boy.
Well, I waited and I saw Nancy and Mr. Mallon get into a cab.
Where have they gone to?
Well, I heard him tell the driver to go to Canterbury Music Hall.
This is our chance.
He went out with the
Save your
maid.
breath, you'll need it later on.
So Mr. Mallon, the husband, is at a musical with the maid. They got the best seats in the house, right on the stage.
Alas, I went to court in one of nature's fairest flowers, Miss Seraphina Honeyman, who caused a deep sensation in the region of my heart. But now I'm full of aggravation.
That's Nancy laughing.
For it's very aggravating when your love's not.
So Nancy's watching the play. Mr. Mallon's watching her.
That's going to be one long holiday for you after tomorrow.
Now you cut the scene. Miss Mellon's in the house. She's looking for that brooch, I think, to prove her sanity.
Elizabeth, it's you.
Elizabeth, the older maid, is in
My
there.
brooch may
She's
have got
trying to
behind you. Only I can find
move
my
a desk.
brooch. May not send to the doctors.
A gentleman to see you, ma'am.
Oh, well, tell him my husband isn't in.
It's you he wants to see, ma'am, not the master. And he says it's urgent.
Vincent, he's come back. I'm sorry, Elizabeth.
She's running downstairs because she thinks her cousin's there.
Good evening, Mrs. Mellon.
But it's the retired cop.
You? But I thought
Last time we met, your husband interrupted us. Very well this time.
I don't understand.
You will indeed, ma'am, very shortly. Now, you just sit down. Make yourself comfortable. You're supposed to be going off your head, aren't you?
Who told you? Why do you say that?
So now they're cutting back to the scene of Nancy and Mr. Mellon at the show.
The can-can dancer. Direct from Paris, and I know you're going to like them. Of course, as I know more about what they're going to do than you do at the present, I hope you'll excuse my back.
They're just showing the can-can dancers. Nancy just called them vulgar. Just a bunch of can-can dancers dancing. I don't know if I'm yelling, I got this so high.
The whole of this house.
So now cut back to the scene.
The murderer had searched for those rubies all through the night.
Mr. Mellon and the
Only
cop.
opinion of the police was that
Mrs.
found
Mellon.
them and vanished with them.
They never caught him.
No. But suppose he did find those rubies after all. Suppose they were concealed in the walls or the floor of old Alice Barlow, the bedroom. Which was the room above yours, Mrs. Mellon. Footsteps.
The gaslight going up and down.
Back to the musical with Mr. Mellon and the maid. Mr. Mellon's antsy.
But there's another tent just starting.
I've had enough. Come along now.
He wants to go home. He doesn't want to watch the show anymore.
That's what's made me sure my mind is
Back to
lying in
Miss
my room
Mellon
watching the
and
gaslight,
the cop.
listening for someone in a place where no one can go.
Oh, yes, they can. Along the roof from the empty house next door.
But what are you saying?
It fits. It all fits. Tell me, You ever heard the name Louis Bauer?
It's a trap. I never said I found that envelope.
No.
It's a lie. Go away. Leave this house. I don't know.
Come.
I don't.
What do you know about Louis Bauer?
And I thought I found an envelope addressed to him. It was when we first came here. That's what started my...
I've got it. I've solved it. I've saved you. God, what a marvelous man I am.
What are you talking about?
Your Mr. Mellon is my Mr. Louis Bauer, a criminal maniac who murdered his aunt and steals back to his own house at night, still searching for those rubies he couldn't find 20 years ago. And every time he lights the gas up in that room, so it dims down here.
When the light brightens, I hear his key in the door a few minutes afterwards. I can't stand it, my mind.
Oh, you're not going out of your mind, Mrs. Mellon. You're slowly and methodically being driven out of your mind. Why? Because quite by accident you got into his identity, and that made you dangerous to him. He couldn't get rid of you by ordinary means for fear of an inquiry. So he's driving you mad in order to discredit anything that you say as the ravings of a lunatic. Thank God you're not married to him.
Not married to her?
Certainly not. He married another lady long before he met you, and she's still alive.
How do you know?
I've been finding out things about Mr. Louis Bauer.
Where is this woman?
That's the trouble. Australia. That's 3 months away. By then it'll be too late to save you. That's why you've got to give me the evidence we need.
What evidence?
Any proof of Louis Bauer's identity.
I don't know where to find it.
Well, you can tell me where to look.
Yes, but
In here?
you don't understand. To me, he's still my husband. I couldn't betray him.
She's still being
You mean the man
loyal
who
to him.
betrayed you into thinking you were married to him?
That's different. That was before I knew him. We lived together as husband and wife. If I betrayed him, I'd be betraying myself.
Even though I tell you that at this moment he's sitting in a music hall with another woman, your parlor maid.
Is that true?
It's hard to take everything from you, and I'm afraid it is.
So Mr. Mellon just arrived back at the house with, actually at the church. They're at the church.
Straight in and I'll follow you in a moment.
What you gonna do?
I'll take a little stroll.
Will we go out again?
I'll let you know.
So they're in front of the church. He sent her back home. He's gonna go for a walk.
He keeps his papers in there.
Back to Miss Mellon and the retired cop.
But it's locked.
Good. That means there are probably some things inside that are very interesting.
He's trying to
Mind if I
open
take
the
coat off? I
desk.
always recommend taking the coat off. Saucy shirt, isn't it?
What are you going to do?
There's only 2 things I've ever wanted to be. A gardener or a burglar. Both of them nice, quiet occupations.
That's Nancy going into the house.
This is tougher than I thought.
You mustn't force it.
Afraid I'll have to.
But what shall I say when he comes back?
Don't you realize it's tonight or never? Tomorrow he wants to get you certified. If we go back, we're lost. We must gamble on finding something. Now, are you with me?
All right, force it, but be quick.
There's no hurry, Mom. He's quite happy where he is. I don't like these violent methods. Makes me feel like a dentist.
Okay, so let's do, okay. So the husband openly threatens the wife's family member when he tries to interfere. That was when Mr. Mellon told the cousin that he would need physical force in order to see his cousin. So now that he has embarrassed her in public, he's embarrassed his wife in public, and now he's sure that the whole town thinks she's crazy. Notice how severe his behavior has become. The mask is off, and only she will see him like that. In front of others, he will wear the mask, but he will take it off for her. That's why a lot of victims say, oh, the person you see in public is not the same person I see in private, because the mask is off once they get the victim where they want. The psychopath hates wearing the mask and pretending to be a normal human being. They can't wait to get their targets to the place where they can just be their evil selves without losing anything or risking exposure. Taking off the mask is like a breath of fresh air to them. This is a good point to briefly talk about narcissistic supply. The husband, sorry, I lost my place. The husband needed money and he wanted to live a high-end life. As you can see, it seems he wanted to live like a wealthy bachelor. For some strange reason, he couldn't do that on his own, so he got a sugar mommy. The wife was wealthy, good-natured, loyal, and easy to manipulate. If you are really a good person or really trying to be good, you need to know that a psychopath looks for people like you. You are the preferred type of victim because you'll likely lick your wounds and keep going back. They will prey on your goodness, sympathy, kindness, and compassion and drain you dry. You didn't do anything to deserve it. God is not punishing you or testing you. This is the beast feeding on you. And if you want to survive, you better get yourself out of that situation. There is a point where she tells him that her headaches and her mind gets tired when he is unmasked or is attacking her. I told you, remember that scene. What she's experiencing is cognitive dissonance. I will show a video during random talk that explains why this happens to a victim. Notice also that he uses projection by accusing her of everything he's doing. He says he says that she is the one looking through his things and being dangerous. He says she needs to see a doctor and be locked in a psych ward when he is the one who really needs to be committed. He finally deals the hardest blow by telling her he hates her and she is repulsive. He knows she is in love with him and how much that would hurt her. This is just cruel to a kind and gentle soul like his wife. Infidelity and cheating is common for psychopaths, male or female. Not every one of them will do it, but most of them will. The husband is still married to another woman in a different country and probably ghosted her. He probably keeps the other wife hanging on in case he needed an escape. So if something happens in America, he could run to Australia and just resume life as a husband. He only got married because it made him look respectable. In those days, everyone got married. You got to a certain age, you got married. So if you didn't get married, people would question, you, what are you doing? You're not married. Oh my God, you're not respectable. But times have changed now. But back in those days, in the movie setting, it made him look respectable. He had a wife in 2 countries so that he could conveniently leave one and go to the other when necessary. Notice how the wife wanted to still be devoted to her husband even after hearing about his double life. That's why he chose her, because she is a good and devoted person. She has a conscience and wants to do what is right no matter what, even if he's wrong. Are you starting to see why psychopaths prefer good and loyal people, why they prey on them, and why that's their target? So let's go back to the final 15 minutes of the movie. In case you forget, the retired cop is in the house with Miss Mellon, just told her everything that's happening, and he's trying to pry open the desk where Mr. Mellon keeps everything. He opened it,
so far,
and he's disappointed.
Suppose he keeps his papers in here.
Look, he's back. He's upstairs.
She just saw the Gaslight
How long do you
dimly.
stay?
Anytime, an hour, 10 minutes.
Well, we shall want longer than that. That's done for, I'm afraid. Well, we shall have to risk it. Come along. Come on now.
I can't see him, I daren't.
You shan't. Go right up to your room, lock yourself in, and don't come out in any circumstances until I tell you.
You're not going. You won't leave the house.
Of course not.
But Elizabeth.
Oh, don't you worry about Elizabeth. I've squared her. And remember, you're all right so long as you stay in your room.
All right, she's in her room. Her husband just came in. She's scared. This is not upstairs. He's climbing up the steps in the house.
Bella.
He's calling for his wife. He notices that the door is open to the room where the wife and the cop was in, retired cop. He notices that his desk is damaged. And it's open.
Go upstairs and tell Mrs. Madden she's to come down here at once.
Just like that, sir. Very good, sir. Are you there, ma'am? Master says you to come to the drawing room at once.
Yes, she's a troublemaker. She's like getting off on this.
She won't answer. She's got the door locked. I tried it.
All right, Nancy, go to bed.
Well, I've got to let the dog out first.
You needn't worry about the dog. Go to bed.
What's the go? What are you up to, eh?
Will you kindly remember that you're not the guest in this house?
Knows how he can just put her in her place. 1 minute she's a lover, next minute she's just a maid. He like psychopaths like that.
Bella, have your dog here. Found it in the drawing room. I know it's now.
Oh, no. No. Don't hurt it. I'm coming.
She's running. He's threatening her dog.
Give me the dog. What have you done with it?
He used that to get her out.
Your dog.
You said you had it. You hurt it.
I haven't seen your dog. None of your dreams, like the one in which you dared break open my desk.
Dream. Don't tell me it was a dream that he never came.
Okay. Tell me about this dream of yours.
Dream that a man came. Here.
They're in the drawing room where she was a retired cop.
But tell me about the man. Speak, will you?
He's grabbing her. He's roughing her up.
The man.
A dream. A dream.
She's confused.
This curious dream,
Who are you?
apparently a mere figment of this lady's imagination.
How did you get in?
We ghosts don't have to bother about doors.
If you don't tell me your
I
business,
came to call upon another ghost. The ghost of the man who murdered Alice Barlow. In this very room.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
He looks crazy, Mr. Mellon.
You? Mr. Louis Bauer?
And the retired cop is just like all up in his face. But not like today. He's bold.
No, it isn't. You've been listening to my wife's insane ramblings.
He's getting nervous.
Correct.
Mr. Mellon.
Except that she isn't insane, or is she your wife?
You dare to break into my house? You tamper with my desk?
Where you and I know lies the evidence that you are Louis Bauer.
Okay. He feels better now because, okay. He was really tense and now he feels better because he's going to make a fool of him. Or so he thinks.
Here's what you wanted. It'll give me great pleasure to see you make a fool of yourself before I throw you out of the house.
They're going through it, trying to find something.
Seems to be nothing here.
He's making sure they don't. He's like listening.
My brooch.
She found that brooch.
And it's true. You did hide my things. You laid traps for me and
He's
said that I
Mr. Mellon's
lied
totally
to you.
calm now because he feels like he's back in
I found the brooch
control.
only today and put it aside until I could give it back to you.
More lies.
This isn't your brooch.
I gave it to my wife as an engagement present.
Where'd you get it from?
It's second hand.
How do you know?
There's an inscription in it.
Where? Where?
Okay, now
Inside, it's
Mr.
a
Mellon's getting
trick. I
tense
discovered
again.
it by accident.
Show me.
See the look on his face.
2AB. What are these?
There were some sort of stones in it.
Stones? What about
Okay, now he's like,
They were loose,
his
so
eyes
I
are
took
wide
them
open.
out and put them in
He's
here.
watching her like a hawk.
There you are. Alice Barlow's brooch. Alice Barlow's rubies. £20,000 worth. This brooch and these
Mr.
rubies
Mellon
are going
looks
to send
crazy.
you
He's
to
just
the
like
gallows.
looking at the rubies.
Give them to me.
Get out of the room quickly.
The wife is telling her to get out the room. Mr. Mellon picked up a chair to throw at both of them. He didn't care. He just wants his rubies.
Oh, quick, hurry.
He's like fighting the cop. The guy who's like flirts with Nancy's end, he's trying to wrestle Mr. Mellon down. Mr. Mellon's crazy. The cop's getting up. The retired cop's getting up. Mr. Mellon's choking the guy, banging his head on the floor. The cop's up, knocks Mr. Mellon out. Mr. Mellon falls over, unconscious. The other guy, Cobb or whatever his name is, just got up. Mr. Mellon's tied up in a chair while the cops come. The retired cop tied him up.
That'll hold him. We shan't need it anymore. Did you get my message through to Mr. Alswater?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, you go for the
He's
police now.
talking to Cobb
Hurry.
or
Very
his
good, sir.
assistant.
It's all over now, Mum. You can go along up to your room.
Mrs.
I'll
Mellon's
deal with
just
the
staring at her
servants.
husband. Mr. Mellon's coming to now. He's staring at his wife.
Speak to my wife.
He's speaking to Bella.
You go up to your room.
I too want to speak to my husband.
No, you'll only be torturing yourself.
I want to speak to him alone.
Very well, if you insist. Don't suppose. I'll hear you if you call.
Bella. Quick, Bella, the rubies.
He's still trying to manipulate her.
And give me them.
Ruby,
They're alone now.
how you lusted for them.
She's putting them on the table.
Look,
Bella, hurry. Get the knife down the drawer. Cut me free. And give them to me.
Probably he's gonna
Quick, Bella.
take him run to Australia to his other wife.
Take the knife.
She grabbed a knife. She's holding him like she's gonna stab him.
knife. What knife?
And she looks like she's crazy, intense,
Are you
staring.
suggesting this is a knife I have in my hand?
He looks scared.
You gone mad, my sane husband?
Looks like she's
There
gonna
was
stab
a
him.
knife, but I lost it. I always hide things away because I'm mad.
Bella, what are you saying?
Ruby, you killed a woman for them. Me, you tried to kill my mind. You made me mad. Witless as an animal, you said.
She's going close in with a knife.
Now you're helpless and I'm mad.
Tense, glaring at each other. He wants the rubies. He looks crazed. He's breaking free. Somehow he got himself out of being tied and goes for the rubies. He's holding on to them. He's surrounded by cops. And he's holding the ruby, looking at them. He looks happy. Crazy happy. Crazed happy. Handcuffed. He doesn't care. He has his rubies.
The rubies.
The mask is off. This guy is insane. Belle is standing with her cousin. They take her husband away. She's holding the knife. She puts it down. She opens the window, looks out. Camera panning out. Belle's on the balcony. Scene of the street in front of the brownstone. Lamppost with a gaslight. The end. Okay, so let me give the final commentary. So if you really notice the change in Mr. Mellon from the beginning, when he still had his mask on, he love bombed her and he cuddled her to get what he wanted. So now, after he got her where he wanted, she's crazy, she's totally under his control, he just roughs her up and he's just so mean to her since she was discredited and publicly humiliated. And that's why the gang stalkers try so hard to get TIs incarcerated, committed, or discredited so that they can take the mask off and treat the TI any way they want, because no one's going to believe the TI when she or he tells of the abuse. The husband was going to have his wife committed in the morning. He racked up evidence from the maids and the general public. The maid and the general public are part of the audience, and hopefully audience members will start to see how they can be used if the psychopath finds them convenient. The people at the concert were used and can be used by the psychopath. They will say what they heard. They will say that they heard the wife was crazy and they saw it for themselves. The maid will be, the maids will be used. The maids will be used. The one who he's cheating with will definitely tell what she saw. And if the wife says that the maid cheated with her husband, the maid will call her a liar and say she's crazy. Imagine a standoff between the cheating maid and the wife. Who will you believe if you didn't know the truth? The wife could stand a chance because the maid looks like a hussy and acts like a hussy and she has all these boyfriends. Okay, so, the wife might stand a chance there. And also she's in the position where there's a wealthier guy trying to hit on her. Most people will be like, okay, well, the wife might be telling the truth. However, what if the sweet, sympathetic maid, Elizabeth, the older one, came into the picture and says what she saw? She didn't cheat with the husband, and you can tell that she really cares about the wife. She would even say, I remember that scene, that's why I told you remember that scene. She would even say that the wife admitted to going crazy. Remember the scene where they were in the, where Bella heard the footsteps and she was like, I know a girl who went crazy and stuff. That's why I told you remember that scene. The maid could go back to that scene and the wife could be like, oh, I did say that, and that was like way before she knew what was going on. So let's say Elizabeth says, yeah, she even admitted that she was going crazy. And then the wife could say, yeah, I did. And what she did in one of the scenes. Now, who would you believe? If I didn't know the truth, I would side with the maids and the husband based on that. Except for denying the cheating, were the maids in the audience lying? No. They were just saying what they saw and what the husband manipulated them to believe. The husband is the only one who is lying, but boy, did he get enough people to unknowingly support his lies. And that is how a lie becomes the so-called truth. And the audience is used to help take down the victim. So the psychopath is always after something or many things. When the rubies were found, the mask disappeared, the beast came out of the psychopath, you saw the untamed beast attack and go for what he wanted. He was ready to hurt and kill to get what he was after. Unfortunately, many victims have seen the beast come out of the psychopaths. When there is physical violence, victims have said that the psychopaths look scary and their eyes seem vacant. Fear of getting caught or exposed can bring out the beast, and that's why a person has to be careful. A person has to be careful around the beast, you know. And if there isn't any physical abuse, you have to, if you watch this movie again, you're going to see when Mr. Mellon like goes after his wife emotionally and psychologically, you know. And there was this, there's a thing that she said was interesting. You killed she said in the Mrs. Mellon said, you killed a woman for the rubies, and then you started killing my mind. So even though a psychopath may not be killing you physically, you know, they're killing you mentally, psychologically, and emotionally. So there is still kind of like a murder going on. So you have to be careful about the beast, because and by the beast, I'm referring back to the gang stalkers. They are serial killers. Okay, so back to the movie. In the end of the movie, Mr. Mellon asks to speak to his wife so that he can manipulate her again. A psychopath will keep going back and trying to use their victims again and again and again. Rule number 1 in dealing with a psychopath is not to play the game. Always end the game. The reason being is that the psychopath will do anything to win. Think of the lowest that one can stoop, and the psychopath will stoop that low or lower. And that's how they win their game, by stooping the lowest. They know that humans have a limit to how low they can stoop, and they know that if they stoop lower if they stoop lower, they can win. They know that if you, as a human being, stoop lower than your conscience allows, you will carry a burden that they can use against you, even if you win. So even though they lost, they have revenge on you to still mess with your mind. So they can use that against you if you stoop lower than them, and if you stoop lower than your conscience allow you. What they're going to do is say, as revenge, what they're going to say is, see how low you stooped? You are no better than me. You're no better than me. And that's what it is. It just creeps me out just thinking about it. But, you know, that's how they play their game, and you don't want to play that game. So even if they lose, they want that revenge on you to still mess with your mind, that, oh, well, you stoop lower than, you know, your conscience allowed. You stoop lower than me. You're no better than me, blah, 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 blah. So the best remedy for the game is to end it. Do not play their game. So in conclusion, I'm not trying to shape your view, but to open your eyes to some things that you may not have known or noticed. After viewing this, it would be interesting if you watch the movie again on your own and develop your own opinion, whether or not it agrees with the things I pointed out. You can even make your own videos on it or hold your own discussions if you choose. The good news is that you can watch this movie for free, and I will post the link on the chat. You can have, what you could do is you could have 2 windows open, and you can watch it in the 15-minute intervals if you want to review all that I just said. Because remember, you didn't see it. I was exercising your imagination, describing it, and then you had to like picture it yourself, which I think is, I don't know, a lot of people might not, you know, nowadays everyone's just used to being fed, you know, entertainment, and no one hardly uses their imagination anymore. You're just, you know, you watch movies, everything's just done for you. But I think the old radio version is interesting because you kind of like picture it in your head. And I think it's, for me, and you might not agree, but I think it'd be kind of exciting for you to go back and watch it and actually see how it's depicted and how you imagined it as I was narrating for you and as you were hearing it. So you could just go back and what you could do is you could have 2 windows open, watch it in 15-minute intervals, and listen to my commentary. In the YouTube description box, I will put the times my commentary starts, so that you could just automatically skip to it instead of hearing me like describe the scene and stuff, because you'll be watching it, you'll see the scene for yourself, so that you can skip the listening part as you watch the movie for yourself. Or you can watch it without my commentary. And I think it would be good for you to go back first and watch the movie without my commentary, so that you could see it for yourself, you know, and you know, like now that you got additional information, see how it all pans out as you're watching the scene. You get to see the expressions and how everything's played out. I think that would be a good idea for you to watch it without my commentary. And then if you want to, go back and you can review my commentary along with the movie to see if, like, you know, if you wanted to. I know I like things like that. I know that's not for everybody. There's another popular more popular version of this movie that you can also rent and watch. It's if you search Gaslight the movie, it'll come up. I haven't seen that version yet, so it would be interesting to compare the two. I read that the one that's free is less sensationalized and sticks closer to the original plot. Let me just get that thing for you. And I think you could just put this in the search bar and you should be able to find it. It should come right up. And then, so here is the post. So that's where you can find the movie. Let me just post it quickly in chat. Okay, so that's the post where you can watch the movie by yourself without me there. And so in closing, let me finish my final thoughts for today on the main topic. Okay, so I'm trying to help you become more aware of psychopaths, whether or not you are a TI, because psychopaths are a problem for any and everyone. You may not have a network of psychopaths stalking you, but you may be dating one, you may be friends with one, you may work with one, you might have one in the family, a psychopath may live next door, et cetera, et cetera. Even if it's not a full campaign against you, as in gang stalking, you are still in danger, TI or not. Don't be a sitting duck to a psychopath. It would not be fair if I didn't let you know what to do or what could happen after you unmask a... Oh, I read the wrong thing. Sorry. You're gonna hear that again because I read that for a TI hour. I'm looking at my notes, so if you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at. So anyway, so what I was supposed to read was, I hope this helps you understand gaslighting, where the term originated from, helps you spot the psychopath and become more aware of their tricks. Audience, I hope that you can see how you can be used unknowingly to take down an innocent person. I know that's something that was really hard to like grasp because it's like, how could you use someone who's not a part of it? But I hope that kind of like helps you see how the psychopaths do that. So please come back for random talk. I know I said it was going to be from like 7 to 10. I'm going to try to do I got 3 videos to show you a random talk. And I think it's really going to be good because it ties everything together. So I just have 3 videos that follow up on this topic. If you can't see it live now, you got to go to sleep or whatever. Watch it on the replay when you have time. And it's kind of like helps when you watch it right after the other because it's like you still have the movie fresh in your mind and you'll see like just how it all plays out. So I'm going to end this session right now and I will be back in like a minute or two for TI hour random talk, which is not going to be really random talk. It's just a follow up. And that's it. Thank you for watching, and I hope that helps.
Recording paused.
Okay, so I just ended the other one. So YouTube, thank you for watching, and I'll be back in a few minutes.